My name is Braden, and this is my 180 story, which is my personal story about how I was headed in one direction in my life, and then Jesus changed that direction 180 degrees. I'll describe my childhood as growing up in a broken Christian home. When I was younger, church was a priority, but as I grew up, that slowly began to change. My sister and I both played competitive sports year-round, which meant that our Sundays were usually spent on a field or in the gym. The lack of growing up in the church translated to a lack of Jesus in our house, and to me that was okay because I attended a Christian school from kindergarten all the way through my senior year. As high school approached, I found myself being okay with the lack of Jesus that was in my life because I thought I was getting enough of the Bible 5 days a week at school. I honestly didn't need to see the need to pursue Christ outside of school and had no idea what a personal relationship with him looked like. The older I got, the more temptations entered my life, and the more this kind of attitude began to take over. I was a high school athlete, the cool kid in school, if you will, and stereotypically I should have had it all together. But I never felt like I could appease everyone. And looking back now, I realize my entire identity was based off of what other people thought about me. In Bible class, I was one person, the kid who knew all the right answers and was supposedly living out this perfect Christian life. With my friends, I was another person, the guy who wasn't necessarily partaking in sinful behavior, but was encouraging what my friends were doing, even though I knew it was wrong. On the field, I showed the characteristics of a leader and a captain, although I forgot what it looked like to lead in my own friend group and often only set an example when my coaches were watching. All the while, I never once turned to look to Jesus, even though I knew this is what I was supposed to be doing the entire time. Before I knew it, I was encapsulated in this fear of what others thought of me and the repetitive guilt of never being enough. I felt like I had stretched myself so thin that I couldn't be everything that I needed to be all at once. I felt lonely, and there were countless days that I felt like no one could relate to what I was going through. Rather than leaning on Jesus, I pretended like I had it all together and put on mask after mask. I was who I needed to be around the people I was around, while every night going home and feeling lonely and insufficient. Looking back at it now, I would say that I had mild depression throughout most of my junior and senior year, but I never got an official diagnosis or told anyone because what would people think about me if suddenly I became the kid with my own problems to deal with? What if I wasn't strong and capable anymore? I took these feelings with me into college and decided that I was going to come to UCCS and pursue my faith solely on my own. Before I knew it, it was October and that same dreadful feeling of loneliness came back. I'd already failed at finding God and spending intentional time with him, and I didn't really have a community. That's when God came into my life and swept me off my feet. I got a call from a random number. Answering it, I found out that it was a staff member from Crew, a Christian ministry on campus, and this guy wanted to meet with me to give me a little bit more information. I remember literally rolling my eyes when I realized who I was talking to because this was not in my plan. It was not me finding Jesus on my own. For some odd reason that day, one that I can only attribute to the grace of God, I said yes to meeting up with the man. Shortly thereafter, I got involved with Crew and my life changed. God showed me why I needed community and reminded me that my true identity is found in Christ, not in what other people think about me. God showed me the gospel in a new light, in a way that I needed to hear. I now know that when Christ died for me, he took all of my fears of never being enough and all of my feelings of loneliness with him to the grave, and he was raised from the dead 3 days later, all because God loved me infinitely more than I could ever imagine. It was within this truth that I rediscovered my purpose, to live a life for the glory of God and nothing else. God showed me that he had a plan for me all along, no matter what I thought my plan for my life at the time may be. He showed me that he was in fact my strength and would be my strength even when I had none, and that he would pursue me even when I didn't want to pursue him. Before Christ, I was trapped. Now I am liberated. My name is Braden, and this is my 180 story.